What's going on, guys? This is Roth and Joshua here with big, huge, massive DC news today. You know what's funny? Our producer just mentioned this. We never think about this stuff getting announced at investor meetings, right? We're like waiting for the big announcements at the cons and things like that. But no, it's the money people that get to know first, and that's a little understandable. So let's talk about it. They just dropped their entire slate.
Oh my God! DC Comics.
Yes, this is
with Warner Brothers announced that they're going to make a bunch of superhero movies. We knew we had 9 untitled dates out there, and now we finally got a movie for each date, which is crazy.
Right. It's interesting because we were all blown away this morning going, oh my God, I can't believe it. But in reality, there had been a slate tease. There had been a supposed slate revealed months and months ago by Nikki Fink, which isn't exactly it, but although there are some accurate sort of films. And then they announced the 9 untitled movies, but here they are. Here are the actual movies. I'm going to read them off to you. Ready? Batman v Superman, we already knew about. Suicide Squad, which we already kind of knew about. Wonder Woman standalone movie.
Yeah.
Justice League Part 1. The Flash, people. We'll get into that in a minute. Aquaman, which again, starring Jason Momoa, we sort of knew about. Shazam, which is...
we don't know who Shazam is.
We don't know who Shazam is.
The Rock is Black Adam, the villain / anti-hero.
Yeah, so that's another thing we'll get into in a minute. Justice League Part 2, a standalone Cyborg movie.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Which is pretty interesting, starring Ray Fisher. And, wait for it, a reboot of Green Lantern. So basically...
Oh my God. Sorry, that last one, I literally had tears in my eyes.
Did you?
When I saw there's going to be a Green Lantern reboot. Green Lantern's my dog, you know what I'm saying? So...
They waited for it till that's the last film, so I think they are giving a little space.
Yeah, they wanted people to forget about the other one with Ryan Reynolds.
And they want to establish this brand. They want to establish this sort of connected universe. So you already did a little bit, but give me your just emotional response to this news.
This makes me so happy, which is really cool. And a big thing, just right off the bat, you notice is that Wonder Woman is getting her own movie, Cyborg's getting his own movie. Yeah. And a lot of people complain about the Marvel movies that they aren't that diverse. We now have a superhero film led by a woman and a black man, which is really cool, which is really awesome. And just they're really just going there. And the Flash, that's like weird because it's such a great like debut for the TV show.
Sure.
But now it's getting by a new actor and a new movie.
Ezra Miller is going to play
the Green Lantern movie. My gosh! And you got to wonder, are they going to go with like Hal Jordan, or are they going to do maybe Jon Stewart?
That's a good question to distinguish it, right?
Yeah, I think they have to do Jon Stewart. Although if you really look at all this stuff, they really want Hal Jordan to be the Green Lantern. But that's an entire conversation. What about you? Like, how do you like process this?
I'm having trouble processing it. No, I mean, I think it's great. I think that you've raised a lot of really good points. Well, for one thing, I think that we can take a lot of our cues about what will unfold from the comics, because they seem to be taking their cues from the comics, right? Like this is the basic lineup of the Justice League movie that we're going to see, and it's also, the basic lineup right now in the comics. So that's kind of an notable. I think you make a really interesting point that although there is going to be a standalone female-led movie over at Sony in the Spider-Man universe, but you're right. They are sort of being bold in terms of like unafraid of diversity, of giving a standalone character to either a woman, black man, whatever, things that we don't generally see and haven't yet seen Marvel do. That's sort of notable. DC doesn't seem to be worried about it at all.
Yeah.
What's really interesting to me too, though, is that the second film, and we already knew this, is going to be the Suicide Squad, right? So like they're doing their villain matchup the same way that Sony is doing Sinister Six, although that's sort of in flux right now.
Yeah, everything Sony seems to announce seems to be like, I'd take it all with a grain of salt. It seems to be switching plans a lot and stuff.
They are, but that is the one thing that they have sort of consistently, seemingly stuck with, is this Drew Goddard Sinister Six movie. So there's a lot to dig into right now. We're going to do a couple of separate conversations to try and like unpack some of the particular news. But what do you think? Do you think it's a smart plan overall? Does it feel that way to you?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's hard to decide what's the best way to do something like this. The lineup seems a little weird in that Batman and Superman were on there, but also in the press release it said they will get solo films, even though it's not on this schedule.
Yeah, you're right.
So they will be coming, we just don't know when or like what form their movies will take.
Yeah.
But that seems like the thing to do, is to just get everyone a lead up or a movie It's weird, the order of it all, because like Marvel, they gave every solo character a movie, then put them together. This one, they're like, okay, we're going to do Batman versus Superman, then we're going to do some solo movies, and then we're going to do Justice League, and then we do more solo movies, another Justice League movie.
Yeah.
So you have to wonder how they all fit in together.
And I think that is an interesting question, because you're right, it's sort of the reverse trajectory. And we do want to say once again, because one of the big things that we were surprised about initially was there's no Batman or Superman. That's really crazy. There is. Well, they just haven't announced it yet. Supposedly, reportedly there is going to be. So, but I think you're right.
There's that Lego Batman movie.
But there is,
starring Will Arnett.
Yes, I know. I wrote conversation Arnett versus Affleck Batman. We're not going to do that, but it is interesting. Yet, of course, they also announced the 3 Fantastic Beasts movies. That's another conversation altogether. Again, they are doing the reverse trajectory of Marvel, right? Marvel did their singular characters and then sequels, and then they all met up in the Avengers, and then they're doing the same thing into Avengers 2, other than Guardians of the Galaxy, which started out as a group. I don't know how it all fits together because they're doing the villains next. Are the villains then going to be the single villains in the follow-up movies?
You gotta wonder. I think that's setting the foundation for maybe the threat that's gonna come to the Justice League, or maybe they'll have to team up with the villains, or because the Suicide Squad are sort of anti-heroes or villains trying to reform each other. But it's a strange. It's a whole new world out there.
It is, and one more thing, and then we'll move on to our individual digging into these topics. Is another thing that's notable and interesting to me is that it feels like several of these films could have very different tones, right? You've got David Ayer directing The Suicide Squad. Now, I think that's awesome. That is going to be potentially this dark, gritty, mercenary movie, maybe a heist. I'm picturing the heat of superhero movies or something to that effect. Be really cool. Feels very different than what Zack Snyder brings to the table, which feels very different than what a Shazam movie would really have to be. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of different tones. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. It's exciting news. Overall, we're super excited about it. We think it's interesting move that they made, and we're glad that they finally made a big move and said, this is what we're doing. We do have a plan.
They're like, what, Marvel Civil War news? Nah.
I know. That's funny, too, right? Yeah. They're always kind of...
Yeah, but... Green Lantern, 2020. I'll be there. First in line.
All right, those are our quick, erratic, emotional thoughts and responses. Let us know what yours are in the comment. Which, if anything, are you most excited to see? Which do you have questions about in these announcements? Leave your comments below and keep it locked right here for all things new DC announcements at IGN.